Okay, hi. So today we are going to be reading If the Shoe Fits. This is page 188 in your HMH books. Before we start reading the story, what we're really mainly focusing on is making connections. We talked about this at the beginning of the school year. Making connections is when you can relate to something. So when you read, find ways that the text or the story is like things you in your own life, in other texts you have read. So we have text to self. Everybody mirror. Text to self. Text to text. Text to world. Text to self reminds me of when I did something. Text to text reminds me of when this story is the same as the other story. Text to world is when something like what happened in the story happened in my community. Okay? So something you've seen on the news or read in a newspaper. The story can remind you of that. That's text to world. Okay, so as we read the story, I want you to keep in mind the connections, the different connections you're going to be making. Okay, now before we read, let's go over some vocabulary words. Or actually, let's go over the genre first. The genre of this story is fairy tales. Fairy tales are old stories that are made up with characters and events that could not happen. If you read If the Shoe Fits, 2 Cinderella stories, we're going to look for clues that the stories are make-believe, ending that are happy, and problems and solutions. Those are all parts of a fairy tale. So as we read, we're going to make connections by finding ways that this text or this story is like things in your life or other stories that you have read. This will help us understand and remember the story. So let's talk about the power words. We have chore. Everyone say chore. Thrilled. Superb, beamed, pleasure, jealous, dashed, hobbled. Very good.
Superb. Something that is
superb. Okay, anyway, let's look at the pictures. Chore. Who thinks they know what a chore is? Dominique? Good. It's something that you have to do. So a chore is a job you must do. My chore is to take out the trash. That's the kids' chore. Who can tell me one of their chores, something that they have to do at home? What's one of your chores, Amaria? She has to wash the dishes. Good. All right. Let's move on. I know you all have chores. Let's look here. Thrilled. Who thinks they know what thrilled means? These two kids are in a tent, it looks like, and they look happy. What does thrilled mean? Destin? Maybe being happy. When you are thrilled, you are very excited. The children were thrilled to camp out in the backyard. They were thrilled that they were going to go camping. Superb. Ooh, look at him. He's chewing. Does it look like the food is good or nasty? Look at his face. Does it look like he's enjoying it? Yes. If it was nasty, he wouldn't be closing his eyes and really feeling the taste of the food that way. Okay? So superb means something that is the best, the very best. So Jeff thought dinner was superb. All right? He thought it was good. Beamed. Ooh, his smile is beautiful. Who thinks they know what beamed means? Leia. If somebody likes something, someone who beamed gave a big smile. So if you say, the kid beamed when I gave him a new pencil, that means he had a big smile, right? My friend beamed at me from across the room, so you beamed back. It's a big smile. It's not any smile, it's a big smile. Okay, pleasure. Who knows what pleasure means? It's my pleasure. What does that mean? Haney? Okay, maybe wanting to do it. Pleasure is a feeling of happiness or joy. So if they say it's my pleasure, I'm happy to do it. That's what that means. So, thank you for bringing me, like if you're at the restaurant and you're telling the waiter, can you please bring me a plate? And he gives you the plate and you say, thank you. And he says, my pleasure. That means it makes me happy to do that for you. It's a nice way of saying no problem. So if I say the girl gets pleasure from reading the book, that means reading the book gives her happiness or joy. So pleasure means happiness or joy. Jealous. Ooh, I know people that can relate to this. What's happening in the picture? Who can raise their hand and tell me? Bernaya, what's happening in this picture?
The little girl is mad that the baby's getting all the attention.
Good. She's mad or jealous that her baby sister or brother is getting all the attention, right? What does jealous mean, Rena?
It means that you're mad because someone else is having fun.
Okay. If you are jealous, you feel angry because she's right. Because you want what someone else has. She wants the attention that the baby has. Very good. All right, and let's see. Jealous. We have two more. Okay, dashed. Let's look here. Dashed. The kids dashed out of the bus. What does that mean, Dominic? When you run or get out of something so fast. When Miss Summerlin or Miss Fox calls your name for dismissal, you guys dash out of my door, don't you? If you dashed, you ran quickly. We dashed into school to get to class. Hobbled. Ooh, what is that even a picture of? What's that a picture of, Rena? Okay, maybe somebody that broke their leg. And look, they're using the crutches to help them walk. But the kid or the person is hobbled. What does hobbled mean? Bernaya? Maybe to stumble. Let's see. If you hobbled, you walked slow or in an uneven way. So she's walking slow or an uneven way. I hobbled around my house when I broke my leg. All right, and I think that's it. Admire is for the next section. All right, let's keep going. Meet Pleasant Despain. He is the author of the story. Let's listen.
Pleasant Despain began making up stories when he was in 2nd grade. He has always loved to read and write. He also loves to travel. He has visited 26 countries. One of Mr. Despain's favorite things to write about is people from all over the world. He enjoyed writing the Korean Cinderella story because he was able to research the oldest Korean Cinderella tale there is. Mr. Despain thought it was fun to write a Cinderella story that could take place today, too.
Yep, he wrote a Cinderella story. You guys know the classic Cinderella story, right? Why is there, who does not know? Who does not know why there's a shoe in Cinderella?
I know.
You really don't know what the Cinderella story is?
I know.
Okay, who does not know? Leia, put your hand down. You know what Cinderella is. You're all about princesses. Put your hand down. Who does not know what Cinderella or who Cinderella is? Cinderella the princess with the shoe that loses her shoe. Remember? And the prince is like, oh, whose shoe does this belong to? And he puts it on everybody. Okay, good. Anyway, let's go ahead and start reading. If the shoe fits. Okay, so summarize is the paper that you're going to need. So go ahead and take out the packet. So what I did this time is I just stapled everything you're going to do for this week in reading together. So it's the one that says author's purpose at the top. We did that one yesterday. Today we're going to be working on the summarized graphical organizer. It kind of goes in order. And then if you flip it on the back, tomorrow we're going to do the story structure. And then on Thursday or Friday, we're going to work on the text organization. And then also this, we do one every day. So yesterday we did the long E and A. Today, after we read the story, we're going to do the power words match. And then tomorrow we're going to do the story structure questions. So this is basically all of the things we're doing this week in reading. That's why I've stapled them together for you so you don't lose them. So right now what we need is the summarized one. That says summarized reading graphic organizer 5. Okay? All right, let's get started.
If the Shoe Fits, 2 Cinderella stories, retold by Pleasant Despain. A Cinderella named Zoe. Once, not long ago, there was a girl named Zoe. She loved school, especially math, PE, and science. Her stepbrother Finn enjoyed playing tricks on Zoe. One day, their mother tried logging onto her laptop, but her password wasn't accepted. Finn, did you change my password? No, Mom. Try Zoe's password. It worked. Zoe, cried their mother, you know the rule. You can't use my computer without permission. Instead of going to Randall's party tomorrow, you'll do Finn's chore and mow the lawn. But Mom, I didn't. Laughing, Finn went outside.
Do you guys believe her? Did she really change the password? No. Who do you guys think it was? Finn. Why do you think it was Finn? Okay, but how do you know that he's always playing tricks on her? You don't know him very well. But very good. But what we do know is that he's laughing. And usually if somebody is laughing, then they're lying, right? In a situation like this. All right, let's keep reading.
Randall had invited all his friends to his birthday party. His mom was baking a delicious chocolate cake. He hoped Zoe would come. She was one of his best friends. The next day, Finn and their mom left for Randall's party. The doorbell rang. It was Zoe's favorite neighbor, Mrs. Fortuna. She always sparkled. Want to go to the party? How did you know? I have a few secrets, dear. But the lawn, began Zoe. Mrs. Fortuna pulled bright red garden shears from her bag. To Zoe's amazement, the shears flew out of Mrs. Fortuna's hands. The lawn was mowed in seconds.
Wow. So who is this lady kind of like when you compare it to the Cinderella story? Leia? The fairy godmother. Oh, guess who knows the Cinderella story now? Good. The fairy godmother. And who is this little girl? Cinderella. Like Cinderella. Very good.
Zoe was thrilled. She ran to get her favorite shoes, but Finn had hidden them. What will I wear? Mrs. Fortuna handed her a pair of golden tennis shoes. Zoe thought they were superb. On the way to Randall's house, one of Zoe's shoes came untied and tumbled onto the street. It was run over by a bus.
Okay, so let's back up for just a second. What's the first thing that happened in the story? Yes? Okay, he changed the password to the computer, which caused Zoe, what happened to Zoe when Flynn changed it? Yes? Good, she got in trouble. So Zoe got in trouble for something she didn't do, right? And because of that, she was not allowed to go to the party. So let's write that in the first box where it says summarize. Right here in the first box, you're going to write Zoe got in trouble for something she didn't do and could not go to the party. In your own words.
Most important ideas? What? 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 What?
Mm-hmm. Zoe got in trouble for something she did not do and could not go to the party. Okay, so we were talking about some of the things that happened. So the first thing that happened was Zoe got in trouble for something she did not do and could not go to the party. It's highlighted in yellow. That's what you're going to write in the first box. That's the first most important idea. In the second box, you're going to write the next most important idea, which is her neighbor came and took her to the party. She bought her a new pair of golden tennis shoes, but Zoe lost a pair on her way to the party. So you're going to write that in the second box. If you want to reword that and write it in your own words, you can. Actually, I prefer you do that. So you don't have. So if that's too much to write, then just reword it and make it less. But make sure you have all the important ideas in there. Okay? If you still need to see this, then pause the video now. All right, let's keep going.
My shoe, yelled Zoe. Mrs. Fortuna consoled her. 2 shoes don't make wishes come true. Randall beamed when Zoe walked in. He invited her to sit next to him. Noticing her one shoe, he thought, this is something new. Then he said, cool, everyone take off one shoe, just like Zoe. It was time to cut the cake. The candles were lit, and before Randall blew them out, Zoe smiled. One of her wishes had come true.
What do you guys think her wish was?
To get her.
Dominic? Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's the other one, the Korean one. So let's see. My shoe, yelled Zoe. Miss Fortuna consoled her. The two shoes don't make wishes come true, Randall beamed. When Zoe walked in, he invited her to sit next to him, noticing her one shoe. Something is new, he said. Cool. Everyone take off one shoe, just like Zoe. It was time to cut the cake. The candles were lit, and before Randall blew out, Zoe smiled. One of her wishes had come true. All right, awesome. So, the summary, let's go ahead and finish the summary of this story. The third box, Miss Yusuf has 4 boxes. We're just going to leave the 4th box empty. So, what's the last thing that happened? Leia? Okay, she went to the party, and then what? Rena? Very good. So she went to the party. Her friends noticed that she had only one shoe on, and instead of making fun of her, they all did the same thing. They all took off one shoe, right? Yeah. Good. So let's write that down in the last box. Zoe went. Oops. How do I bring this down? There we go. Zoe went to the party. Sorry. Zoe went to the party. With one shoe on. The other kids all took off one shoe to make her feel better. So Zoe went to the party with one shoe on. The other kids all took off one shoe to make her feel better. All right, if you need time to write that down, you can pause the video now. Okay, let's go ahead and read A Cinderella Named Juan. It's a Korean story. Let's see if it'll play or not.
A Cinderella named Kwan. A Korean story. Long, long ago, a baby girl was born. Her father named her Kwan, which means strong. Sadly, her mother died. Years later, Kwan's father remarried. His new wife had her own daughter named He, which means pleasure. Kwan's stepmother and stepsister were jealous of Kwan and unkind to her.
Why do you guys think they were jealous of her?
Because she's happy.
Maybe she's more beautiful, right? Okay, what happened to her mother?
She died.
She died, and years later her father did what?
Remarried.
He remarried, and then he had another girl, and they named the other girl what? He, which means pleasure. Very good.
One beautiful spring morning, Kwan's stepmother said, "I'm taking He to the festival." "Can I go, honorable mother?" asked Kwan. "Yes, but first you must weed the garden." He and her mother laughed as they leapt for the city.
Why did they laugh? Was that nice?
No.
Weeding the garden. Does that take a lot of time?
Yes.
Did they think she was actually going to finish? Let's see.
Kwan's heart was heavy. The garden was filled with weeds. She went outside and was surprised by a large brown cow who said, "I'll eat the weeds." "Yes, please," Kwan said. The cow chomped all the weeds in a flash.
Who helped her? Good.
Suddenly, a flock of songbirds appeared in the sky, carrying a lovely robe and slippers. "For the strong one," they sang. Thrilled, Kwan dashed down the road to the bridge crossing the river. She tripped and fell. One of her slippers splashed into the water. "Oh no!" cried Kwan, watching the slipper float away. Kwan hobbled home and hid the gown and slipper in an old trunk.
So where did the slipper fall? In the water.
Meanwhile, a young prince was traveling to the festival. Thirsty, he stopped by the river for a drink. He put his lips into the cold, rushing water, and a beautiful slipper floated by. "Pretty slipper, pretty lady?" he asked as he grabbed the slipper. "Pretty lady," sang the birds flying above. "I must find her," he declared.
Why do you think he wants to find her?
She can marry.
Good, so maybe so he can marry her.
The prince traveled to many farms, asking every young woman to try on the slipper. Arriving at Kwan's farm, he showed it to He and Kwan. He shoved Kwan to the side, saying, "It's mine." "You are not polite," said the prince. "Your sister will try first." Kwan slipped her foot into the slipper. "You are strong and beautiful," he said. "Please marry me." Smiling, Kwan said, "Yes." The songbirds swirled above. Happy was their song.
How do you guys think she felt about him proposing to her? Was she happy or was she mad? She was happy. It said she's smiling. She said yes. I mean, she's happy. Why did he not tell He to try on the slipper first? Because she was rude, and she was being rude to her sister, and she was pushing her sister. He's like, "I don't even want you to try on the slipper. Move aside and let the polite one try the slipper first." Very good. Okay, so that's that. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Make connections. How are the two fairy tales alike? What are the most important differences between them? How are they alike, Brenaya?
They both have slippers.
They both have slippers, and they both end up losing their slippers. How are they different? How are, this is obvious. Amaria? Good. One of them finds the slipper, finds who the slipper belongs to. The Korean story, he finds who the slipper belongs to. And the other one, they don't. They all just end up taking off their shoes, right? Mrs. Fortina consoles Zoe when she loses her shoe. Think about a time when you lost something. What made you feel better? How many of you guys have lost something before? What made you feel better? Raise your hand. What made you feel better? JC? What did you lose? Oh, so he lost one of his slippers before. It flew off the car. Okay. What made you feel better? What did your mom say she was going to do? She said, don't worry, I'll buy you a new one. Okay. Who else has lost something before? Destin? Okay. Michael, have you lost something before? Okay. What made you feel better after losing it? What did you lose, Michael? You lost your favorite toy? And what made you feel better? When his parents bought him a new one. Good. Awesome. All right. One more. Bernaya? Okay. And what made you feel better? Cool. All right. If Mrs. Fortina and the Songbirds had not been in the fairy tales, how else could the girls have solved their problems? If Mrs. Fortina was not in the story, the first story, how could she have solved the problem? Mariah? Okay. She would have to do what her mom said, and she'd have to mow the lawn. And then she could probably go to the party if she finishes in time. How about the Songbirds? Okay, they sang to her and they sang to the prince. Very good. Awesome. Renaya?
They both have to do something with the garden.
Good. They both had to do some kind of chore or work. Very good. Okay, so that concludes our lesson for today. We are not going to do this writing part because we just talked about it. So I don't think that's really necessary. All right, that's all we're doing. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you later. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. The next thing you're going to do is those power words. So in the same packet where we did this, if you go on to the next page, page 116, it says power words match. These are just the vocabulary words. You're going to find what word goes on what line. It's pretty easy. Okay? When you're done, turn that into me. Bye. See ya.